All right, gang members. So how did we fuck this all up? There are 11.3 million single-parent households in the U.S. 80% of those are headed by a woman who is managing a household, managing at least one child, managing work, and some are receiving assistance from a father. We'll call it a father, we'll just use that term. %70 of black children will grow up without a father. About 40% of white children will grow up without a father. And somewhere between 40 and 50% of Hispanic children will grow up without a father. There are some aspects to feminine nature that need to be discussed in this context, and if I can make it clear, understand, it's hard for me to articulate a lot of this stuff. If I can make it clear, it will clarify a lot of the trends in the world today, at least in the West. So the masculine and feminine have both good traits and bad traits, or you can say that both genders are good, and there are varying degrees to which they stray from the good. Paul, you'll get it. So there are two aspects of the feminine that predispose children and predispose the society that those children create to the things that we see today. The words are violence, safe spaces, anything that I perceive to be as other is a serpent. These are the Oedipal mother. If you're familiar with that term, this is the mother that consumes her young. This has been mythologized and put into story and put into film and song and any number of, you can think of Cersei from Game of Thrones. Cersei is the Oedipal mother. She's devouring her children, and she's doing it out of love, right? She cares for nothing other than her children. You could put her in charge of the 7 kingdoms, and she is going to be so focused on protecting Tomlin from serpents that the kingdom will collapse around her, and she'll devour Tomlin in doing so. This is the Oedipal mother. From the child's perspective, the mother is the archetype. And because the mother is unable to embody the masculine, the child is going to be lacking in masculine attributes. And so our society, we're calling an overabundance of the negative aspect of femininity, we're calling that toxic masculinity, rather than calling it what it is. This is the result of the Oedipal mother. And please do not take this as me blaming single mothers for the state of society. Only 30% of these women were unmarried at the time they became pregnant with the children that they would later be the head of household for. The other 70% were married, divorced, etc. So there's something about us that is making us choose shitty partners. Birth control is one thing, but hopefully I remember to come back to that. But the second aspect of this is I always talk about hemispheric specialization. In general, women are more reliant on right brain. They are the creative force in every fucking story we tell. The creative aspect, the divine feminine. This is right brain. This is artistry. This is creation. Men in general are more reliant on the left brain, logic, order, boundaries. So if you want to raise a child in the optimum way, let's say, and this is a dramatic oversimplification, the mother raises the child up to about age 6, and then the father takes over. Because at some point, your drawings really aren't that good. Maybe you should focus on something else. At some point, yeah, well, you could have done that better. Whereas up to age 6, let's say, and there's plenty of leeway here, everything you do is perfect. Everything you've ever done is perfect, and everything you ever will do is perfect. This is the feminine. This is the role of the feminine in the rearing of a child. I am safety, I am security, I am warmth, I am comfort, I am affirmation, I am positivity, I am light. At some point, that child needs to be exposed to a metered dose of darkness, because the world is not all light. The threat detection center that's in the right brain is scanning for snakes. It's scanning for the serpent in the garden. Everything's fine, but my right brain is constantly scanning for that threat. And the moment I see something that I perceive as a threat, it's a serpent and it needs to be killed. The left brain, through the corpus callosum, receives that information and says, well, you just identified 150 snakes and we can only take care of 1 or 2 of them at a time. So which one is actually a serpent and which one is a stick? This is the role of the masculine. And when you take that masculine aspect out of the household, you get what we have today. You have a society that is the product of the Oedipal mother and the serpent detection mechanism. The child needs to be sheltered and cradled and protected and insulated. The child is Tomlin. The child is fucking Joffrey. The child that is put out there to be exposed to darkness, to be exposed to chaos, to draw whatever they can out of chaos and make something beneficial for society with it, or for himself, and that radiates. You get the point. That's the victor, right? That's your Jon Snow. Willingly exposes himself to venom, to the serpent, to the fucking dragon, to the walkers, to the wildlings, to whatever the fuck. That's the masculine role. So it's not the mother's fault that some shitbag got them pregnant and left. Do they share an equal responsibility for that child? Yes. When we're talking about abortion, for example, and we say, oh, well, what if somebody's raped? Okay, what if my car turns itself around and drives off this bridge right now? What's the likelihood of that happening? Children, or pregnancies, 0.0001% of pregnancies are the product of rape. So we're going to take 1/10,000% and that's your argument against my ability to protect life. Your argument is, well, 1/10,000% is the product of violence, so we need to be able to murder babies whenever we want. No. The woman and the man share equal responsibility for nearly all pregnancies, nearly 100% of pregnancies. How many people don't know that when they have sex, pregnancy is a possibility? And what have we done? We have detached the consequences of instant gratification from the act of sex. We have detached the energy exchange. We have detached the divine aspect of the sexual act. We've detached that. Now it's maintenance. I just need to get off this week. I just need to. You get it. I won't get vulgar. Why are women choosing shitty men and why are men choosing shitty women? Well, I think culture is one aspect of that. I think the economy is one aspect of that. I think a big deal that I don't hear enough people talking about is birth control. Hormonal birth control, progesterone, shuts off the olfactory sense in a woman. And that olfactory sense enables them to smell, literally, smell losers. So if I'm a woman and I have certain genetic mutations, I have certain genetic weaknesses and strengths, my olfactory bulb is tuned to specific frequencies. This is as simple as I can make it. And based upon those frequencies, I know whether this prospective mate is a good match genetically or not. Progesterone blocks that. So now I'm a woman and I'm fucking this guy that I think is a perfect fit. There's chemistry, you know, his smell is great, all this shit, he's whatever. He's the guy I've been looking for. Okay, now we want to have children. I come off of birth control, and now the smell of this person is physically repulsive to me because my genetics reject it. Second thing, economics. We're paying single mothers. The more children you have, the more money you get. If you keep a man out of the home, the payments continue. If you bring a man into the home and get married, the payments stop. Welfare, or not welfare, divorce courts. Try winning full custody and not paying child support as a man, regardless of how good you are. No criminal record, perfect credit, peer reviews, all this shit. Try getting that done. Chemical castration, yes sir, that's exactly what I mean. And this is happening from both angles. We're going to poison the food and water. We're going to do what we can to reduce sperm counts. I think this has a lot to do with pornography as well, because men aren't letting their sperm mature, and so you're getting young sperm fertilizing. Tangent. So there's we're incentivizing things we want to see less of. And the things that we want to see less of are producing this Oedipal complex at a macro level. If 70% of one community, the black community, if 40% of another community, the white community, if 50% of another community, the Hispanic community, are being raised without a masculine force in their lives. And Kanye mentioned this in the White House, I think. He thinks that he would be a different person if he had dragon energy in the household. But he didn't. He had a mother who was trying to play both roles, and you're trying to have one actor play two parts, have a conversation with themselves. And not just that, they're trying to play two roles that they don't know. The undesirable effects in culture, the undesirable manifestations of culture that we're seeing are our own doing. This is the product of all of the things that give us instant gratification and convenience and security, and what we're sacrificing for that, number one, is our culture, Western civilization as a whole, and second, you're sacrificing yourself at the altar of security. You bend the knee, you don't get up. I don't think I have much more to say about that. I was having a conversation last night with someone about where I see this going. If the West falls, I see power being concentrated in the hands of very, very few people. Maybe 1% of the global population or less. And the rest of the globe being enslaved, and not just debt slaves, not just slaves to their own base chakras, not just mental enslavement, but literal enslavement. If the West falls, consider this, and I thought of this this morning when I woke up, my bike ride. Think of the sliver of time in which we have found slavery to be unacceptable. White Christian men in the West fought a war against themselves to end the practice of slavery. The West has continued this practice of banning slavery. We are unique in this. If you think the Chinese are free, if you think people in Africa and Europe are free, I'm not talking about debt slavery. I'm not talking about governmental policy enslavement. Literal slavery has been commensurate with the human experience forever. So what we've done in the West, first we took black men out of the home. We did that with welfare. We did that with divorce courts. We fractured the black family, so now there is no masculine influence within the home for 70% of black children. And we wonder why there are problems with, let's say, authority in the black community. Why there is a rejection of logos. Why there is a rejection of the father, the ordered system, a rejection of boundaries, of cultural norms, and simplification, obviously. Next, well, alongside that has been a continued push to censor speech and to take guns. The Father, the Word, and the means of self-defense are the three things that have been continuously under attack in the West since they were spoken into being, since they were identified and documented in the establishment of Western society. The next wave, we've decimated all but 30% of the black community in the United States with just giving them money for nothing. The next wave is to take white fathers out of the home. 30% isn't enough. We got to get those numbers up, rookie. If we get to a 50% single motherhood rate in the United States among white families, who's going to fight the war? Who is going to fight to keep slavery illegal? Where this is going, if we collapse the nuclear family, if we collapse the strong men who are willing to engage in violence in the preservation of culture, culture is lost. The Father, the Word, and the gun, those are the targets. And viewed in this context, in the context of the Oedipal mother and the influence of the negative aspect of femininity and the perversion that is a woman trying to be the masculine aspect in the home, this is manifest in our society. Think of these things in this context, all of the things that we're seeing. We need to murder babies. We need to pay people to stay poor. We need to pay mothers to keep men out of the home. We need to go to war to save people that have nothing to do with us. These are inversions of masculinity, and they're also inversions of femininity. These are not the positive aspects of the woman that we're seeing. It's not toxic masculinity, it's an imitation of masculinity. And it's the inversion of the female aspect. Toxic masculinity is the Oedipal mother. Toxic masculinity is the threat detection system of the right brain. Hope you get some value out of that, guys. We'll see ya.